And welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion. I want to give you a quick slide here. Okay, now let's get to the review. So, we're going to do Deadpool Wolverine. I know it's a little, I know it was the summer ago, and it's, a little bit, older, but I wanted to talk about this today because, it's like the only thing that Disney has been doing lately that actually was semi worked. It didn't work completely, in my opinion. There were a lot of things that about it. The biggest thing about it is basically it's too sentimental to MCU and Disney and all that. It's too sentimental. And what I mean by that is it's just this was marketed like a roast, like what Tony Hinchcliffe does, or other roast masters. This was portrayed like it was going to be a roast of everything Disney and Marvel, and it was going to really roast all the bad things, and people were really excited for it. I'd have to say a good, I can't even say 25, I'd have to say a good, like, maybe 5 to 10% of the time they do. And there are a lot of funny jokes in here. I'm not saying there aren't. I'm just saying that this is too, like, you can tell that, like, Kevin Feige was so, like, and then say this because how great we still are, and say this because of how great we still are. Like, there's this clip show at the end. There's no end credit. Like, usually the last two movies of this had end credits scenes, and it was basically the first one was him doing the Ferris Bueller thing, and then doing these little scenes that the writers wanted to do, and then you have the sequel that basically has him time traveling through, even making sure Green Lantern doesn't happen, and there's a little bit of a deleted scene with something to do with Hitler, but I don't know. That's not. I'm fine with them deleting that. It's not that needed. So, but the thing is that the end credits for this are kind of known to be like kind of some of the best parts. The problem is the end credits for this are just bloopers and like behind the scenes things for like these early 2000s Marvel films that don't work though. They just don't really work. They don't really end up like, because one, people didn't like him that much back then was the thing. So, like movies like Daredevil or like Blade, or even Channing Tatum didn't even get to be an X-Men, but X-Men, like the early 2000s ones. And, people liked them, but they didn't like them that much now. But Disney is so desperate for a hit that they're like, look, we've basically dug a hole here, so we need to look at the last few remaining things that we didn't bring in the hole with us. You know? So, yeah. So basically, the plot of this is Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, whatever you want to, either one. So, Deadpool basically is trying to find Wolverine because of the events of Logan. You watch the events of Logan, and you'll see exactly what I mean. I doubt anybody watching this hasn't seen Logan. So, at the end of Logan, so he basically digs up Wolverine, and just sees like the metal skeleton or something there, and yeah, and then he ends up fighting with it. He does the whole music video thing just because that will work well in the trailer, and then he cuts from then to they do the go back thing, the 3 days earlier thing, and the 3 days earlier thing isn't that great, but basically we cut to basically where Deadpool has been forgotten by Marvel, which is true. He was forgotten by for a while until this. I know because of licensing rights and all that, but sometimes they get around those and sometimes they don't. Like, how are they still able to use Spider-Man if how is Spider-Man part of Marvel completely, yet still part of Sony, and yet, and they can still make movies like I did in a review before of Craven, and yet somehow that's in the Spider-Man universe, yet somehow as long as we don't say Spider-Man, somehow that's legal. But Marvel somehow has a hand in that, somehow doesn't. It's a whole thing. So, I don't know how they couldn't have done that before anyway. And they mentioned them anyway, so it's not like they didn't have to send the money over. So he's without his girlfriend this time because the writers had to have him single for this. Again, she wasn't. You could have not brought her back too, and that would have worked. He has his friends, the X-Force people. They don't really appear again. They kind of just stay gone for the film until the final. Yay, we're together and we're having a party scene. Yeah, just so then they can introduce Wolverine's going to be in this. So again, so there's. So I want to next say that I like this movie. One of the reasons I like this movie is because it undoes everything from Logan. I did not like Logan. I knew Wolverine was not going to be was not going to be dead forever. I said it the moment he died. I said he's not going to be dead forever. They're eventually going to be so desperate to pull him back, and they are. So basically, the rest of the plot is Deadpool gets kidnapped, and he gets kidnapped by this guy here. I don't remember the guy's name, but he was named Paradox in the movie. So the Paradox guy basically represents to Marvel all of the fan base. Basically, and that's why they made him the side. They made him the main villain, then they make him the side villain. They made him a villain because he represents the fan base, saying, "We want you to do a tough reboot to the whole thing and stop connecting everything with everything else and the multiverse this and the multiverse that. Let's just have a show or a movie that just is allowed to be its own thing again without having to be connected to 5 other things." And then when you get into all the woke stuff that they jam in, like, he just represents the fan base saying either hard reboot everything and just purge everything so far and just kind of start from the beginning again, or in like a new way, or just be done with the whole thing entirely. Because in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinions, Endgame should have been the final hurrah for Avengers. It really should have been. Name something besides this that made money after it that wasn't like pretty bad, you know? So he kidnaps. So Paradox kidnaps Wolverine, telling him that his universe is going to be deleted because essentially, I'll just say it in the way Marvel means it. Marvel wants to delete that whole X-Force thing because they don't really see a future for that, so they just decided to delete that whole thing, grab only him, and save him for the next universe they'll create for it. And yeah, and again, anybody who watches the movie, tell me that's not what he says. They even show clips of the old Avengers to be like, see, we're willing. We're not gonna reboot it like you want us to, but we're willing when you give us money. We're willing to lie and say that we're willing. So the Paradox guy tells Deadpool that he's basically not universe creating material. You need kind of that main character that holds the whole thing down, and he says Wolverine was the one. But ever since Logan, that Wolverine has been dead. So basically Deadpool, punches him, takes the whole thing and even grabs the boom mic and thing just to show that it's fourth wall breaking. The fourth wall breaking is the best part. I gotta say, that's the best part. So he does the multiverse jumping. I was fine with this. It's very fun to see the different versions of Deadpool. I'm not that happy with the different version of Wolverine that they did a whole they did a thing with him that's very anti a lot of the audiences of Marvel. You know which one the people, some people are like, "Oh, you mean these things?" No, I mean the almost crucifixion thing they do in this one scene. It's very, I don't like that. I really didn't. That was, I even turned to who I was watching with and being like, no, no, that you shouldn't be doing that. Come on. But Disney had to put in that little bit of a snip at the people that they don't like. So there's not that many in there, so I guess I'm not mad about it. But he basically jumps from universe to universe. He meets Hulk in some, he meets others in some, and I'm not going to show it all, but he basically jumps through universe after universe after universe, and this should have been the movie. Okay, this should have been the movie. The movie should have been him and Wolverine basically being a buddy cop duo, going through all the different movies, but just calling them universes that Marvel and Disney have made, and basically taking out the parts you don't like, doing like a script doctor type thing, like going in, doing a little bit of surgery to the thing, taking out the cancerous thing, and then leaving to the next thing. That should have been the plot of this. It's a tiny bit, not that much, but it should have been where the paradox guy is showing, okay, you got to go in here and you got to do this, and then they go in this universe, and he could have had all these in jokes and stuff. They do have it still, and it's still fun. It's just the way they do it later isn't that great. So he meets Deadpool, so he meets Wolverine in this other universe Wolverine, and it's the same thing with Logan. He's the haunted Wolverine that has seen some things in his life, has seen some things, let people down, that thing that you've seen a lot. And he's drunk, he's an alcoholic. There's a lot, and another thing I gotta say too is I think there's too many battles. And I know that sounds weird for a superhero movie, but this needed to be more snark with like mid battles. Like take like probably like 2 or 3 of the battles out, make it more like snark and fun, and I think it would have worked. But if you're one of those battle guys that are like, I have to see the battles, and that's all I come for, yeah, you'll watch that and you'll be fine. It's not something that's going to change. So they basically bring them back to the paradox guy, where basically he says this Wolverine is not good enough because he's the one that, again, like Logan, it let people down. People died because of him. So they end up. Now, again, I don't like that they bring back the thing from Loki where they prune him. I don't like that. I don't like that you take the little thing and, you prune, he evaporates you and brings you into this Mad Max type world. I wasn't that happy that we're spending most of the film there, because I'm like, the movie should have been jump into this universe, that universe, this universe, that universe. Because again, this was supposed to be like a turn your brain off type thing, but this one's like, here's our trash bin of characters. No, literally, they tell me that's not how they treat it. If you watch it, tell me that's not what's being said here. So basically, they go to the alternate universe of the trash bin of Marvel, even down to 20th Century Fox is in the ground. There's some good jokes here. There's not none. It's just, like even down to they think they have like Captain America or something, but they got the Fantastic Four. But, they got, like they even meet the girl from Logan in this. They even like meet this little dog. I think you can see him there in Deadpool's arms, Dogpool. Dogpool is just there, the same reason the Minions are in Despicable Me, the same reason the dog's in Men in Black. He's just there for toy sales. He is. But most of this is toy sales, so they don't really care. So then he meets Nice Pool. Now, some people think that Nice Pool is supposed to be Justin Baldoni, because, Blake Lively had a whole thing with him, and Ryan is, kind of had a whole weird thing with him too. It's so some people said that he's supposed to be him. I don't know the actor well enough. I've only seen him in like maybe 2 other things. I don't really see, I don't see it. Again, look at the picture there. Tell me you see it. I don't see it. He doesn't have long hair. He's not that bearded, but I guess in attitude he's nice and like kind of a wuss in that way. And it's like, I don't know. Again, I've only seen him in like 2 different things, so I didn't watch the Blake Lively movie where he has a tiff with her in real life. So yeah, they say that it's him. I don't know. He's not that bad of a character. Nice Pool. Like they kind of barely scratched the surface on like kind of like the wokeism stuff with him. Like if they, again, if you're not gonna do like the running around and making fun of the DEI thing, I would have at least embodied it all in one character at least. And they think they do. Just the problem is they end. He doesn't matter enough to the script. He dies later. Even though he's supposed to be a Deadpool, he dies later. I guess he doesn't have the healing abilities that the other one had. So here we are to the villain of the movie. She's Professor Xavier's sister. It's very, again, it's only there just to do the gender swap thing, because in case they want to give him and that's the problem with this movie too. A lot of this feels like they're going to be given a movie later, or they're going to be given a TV show later. So it doesn't really feel like any. That's the problem with Marvel right now, is that nothing's allowed to be its own thing because the studio might have another thing in mind for that character later, so they gotta kind of keep it going. And I know some die. I know some die. But, in Marvel movies, does anybody really die? Or is it just kind of, you're always alive? So she has this, she's like from a different movie, it feels like. Like, it feels like the bombastic fun tone kind of stops whenever she's on screen. It's very, like they do a lot of weird CGI stuff with her that's just there just to be weird. Like, it feels like the writers from Stranger Things said, we're not gonna, Stranger Things or Doctor Strange just said, let's take Eleven and Scarlet Witch and let's make them the same character. Well, let's just put the Professor Xavier on so that way we can say that's a thing. So basically, most of the movie is them in this Mad Max type world. They're fighting Sabretooth. They're meeting with these three. You got Jennifer Garner playing her role from Daredevil, because get it? Daredevil. You got the character from Blade there. And his character actually becomes funnier when you watch the movie later. Because the later you watch it, the funnier it gets, because they made it so it would be like a past of like, we're done with that Blade and we're ready for our new Blade. And the problem is that the new Blade keeps getting canceled and rescheduled, and directors keep dropping out and dropping in, that it basically becomes where just, the Blade. So when the Blade from the past keeps making these jokes of there's only gonna be one Blade or something, it's like, yeah, you're right, there probably will only be one, because the other one just keeps getting rescheduled and canceled, and every time you think, oh, maybe it's about to be made, oh, we're gonna push it off for another couple of years, oh no, actually we're gonna push it off for like a couple more years, or we're gonna cancel it entirely, or we're gonna change directors, so his character becomes funnier the later you watch it. Channing Tatum is only here because of fans said it, so here it is. Here it's like Sonic, where with the teeth, the Sonic's teeth thing and the Sonic design whole scandal thing. It's basically like that, where it's like, here's the thing that you fans wanted. I know you wanted him to have his own movie, but here he is shoved into the corner of the thing, so that way, and he was picked up. By the way, he was picked up to be part of the Doomsday Avengers thing. So I hope you enjoyed him here, where his joke is basically you can't tell what he's saying because he has such a thick accent. Go watch the movie. Tell me that's not what's being said. So yeah. So again, they're not that great. You kept expecting them just to die, and I think they end up doing it. They do end up dying, but the problem is that because Marvel never lets anybody die, they'll be fine. That's the problem with how superhero movies work now. We have where nobody dies. So it's like, oh no, he died. Set your stopwatches for the announcement that Marvel's going to make him a new character of a new Avengers movie. So I'm going to have an unpopular opinion here. I don't mind Paradox. Okay, I don't mind Paradox. I think he's the best. I think he's really funny. I think he's got a really good character going on. I think he's not the worst interpretation the studio has had of the fans. I've seen a lot worse. They've had whole episodes where the fans are like rapists and like murderers and stuff. Like I've seen worse ways that fans have been portrayed by studios that don't like their fans. So he's not the worst one. Do I think in the end do they do the and then back to Logan? That girl from Logan is back. She's older, but she's back. I'm sure she's in the new Doomsday movie. I don't know her name, so I don't know if she's on that chair, but she's probably in the new Doomsday movie. She was supposed to be the replacement, like the female replacement for Wolverine, because that was in the period of that when they were doing the female replacements for every character. Yeah, she's not. She's yeah. I didn't like her in Wolverine. It's not because like again, I liked Black Widow. I liked some of the female characters. It's just she's too like gruff just for the sake of gruff. Like if you're gonna have Deadpool, if you're gonna have Wolverine be entirely like new character to take it, then let her have a different personality than the gruff old man thing, because it doesn't work when you put it in the body of a 12-year-old. The gruff I've seen some things attitude Hugh Jackman had doesn't work when it's in a 12-year-old, because you're like, well, what have you seen? I know her mom dies in the Logan. I know there's a whole thing with that. I know she watched Wolverine die, but again, there's a new Wolverine now, so oh no. And again, if the writers really wanted to, they could just say your mom's not dead because the Flischifner transformed her body into an alien now. I don't know. Anyway, so if they really wanted her alive, they could bring her back. There's a lady Deadpool in this, played by Blake Lively, I'm sure. Again, they're doing the same thing they did with Wolverine. They're basically just saying, here's a female version, just so then we can put that in a show at one point. It'll be a show, it won't be as liked, and it will fail. And it won't even fail only just because of the woke thing. It will fail because of the whole, like I just said, the whole Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively tiff they had, and the whole... I haven't been following that thing, so that closely, so I don't really know what was happening with that completely, but I just know there's a whole thing around that. So and that's hurting her movie Simple Plan now. So do I think that the movie does multiversing really well in like the beginning of it? Absolutely. I think the movie does the multiversing thing really well in like the first half. Second half, no, they stay in this one universe for too long, and it's very distracting. It's very, very distracting. It's not. I guess it's not that distracting. What it is that it's just like even. Oh, and by the way, spoiler: the Chris Evans guy dies. He dies. Because the girl basically uses magic, yada yada, and he dies. Again, he'll be back. Don't worry. He'll be back. I know. And again, his death only feels like it's Disney saying, so there, we cleaned off the slate for Fantastic Four. So go watch the new Fantastic Four, everybody. Go watch the new Fantastic Four. So she makes it to the real world because they find the Doctor Strange ring on the ground to open a portal to their world, and she jumps through it as well. She makes it back as well. There's this guy named Pyro that was in the old X-Men movies. He dies. It's supposed to be a whole thing that he kind of disagrees with her at one point, and then she kills him. The end. Okay, so he wasn't that important to the X-Men before. Maybe they're rebooting his character and they just want him out of the way. So that's how it feels. It feels like they're like when they kill somebody in this, it feels like we're clearing their character out of the way so we don't have to deal with them again. But then, because this movie made so much money, they're going to eventually take the complete opposite route and be like, let's grab him back because people liked it. People clipped it. People made memes of it. So, people must like it. It's not that it was just because it was the final goodbye to that character. No, we got to have him come back and back and back. Like they're doing with Downey. But anyway, so the film, and then once they get to the real world, back to their world, you're already they have a whole battle with the Wolverine with the Deadpools. Again, they fight each other. They kill, you know, the Wolverine, the Deadpools all kill each other, you know, and then like Deadpool and Wolverine's the main ones slip off and go try to stop the main villain girl. Let me see. Besides battles, you know, not a lot happens in this. Yeah, a lot happens, but like not a lot that's like you're like good thing that happened. There's a thing where it's like we want to be done with multiverses. Again, I think South Park did it better. I do. I think South Park did the multiverse and Disney hate a lot better. I can't believe I'm saying South Park did the whole did the whole thing, the satirizing of Disney, the satirizing of how angry people are with multiverses better, but all right. So here and there's even a scene with like Jon Favreau that's one of the best scenes. It is because it's, you know, because it's basically Marvel admitting that Downey's going to come back, but not really. It was before the announcement of him being back as Doctor Doom. So, you know, I feel that it would have been hysterical if you could have announced that before this came out. And that before this was written, you should have announced that, and you should have put this in, and you should have had even just a 10-second joke off of it. It would have been, you know, even just a 10-second joke of like Deadpool turning and being like, oh, so he's playing Doctor Doom now to Favreau. And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, oh, sorry, it's top secret, right? You know? And so he turns. And so anyway, when they're back in the real world, and their world, I guess I'll say, not real world, their world, and all the Deadpools are killing each other. Don't worry, the fan favorite ones will be kept safe, so they can, the ones they think the fans like will be kept safe, so they don't have to actually deal with any death, because, you know, death doesn't matter. So here we are, we're in the real world now, and the Professor Xavier daughter or sister wants to kill just every universe because Professor Xavier shoved her in the corner. And so now they have to stop her. They do pretty easily, and now comes the sacrifice thing. Now, here's the thing. Like I just said multiple times, no one dies permanently in this. No one dies permanently in a superhero film. No one dies permanently in a Disney film. No one dies permanently in a Marvel film. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to have drama. They want you to cry so much. They're trying to make it such a dramatic thing that will Deadpool, that's completely unkillable and can regenerate and is like, you basically made unkillable in every way. Both these characters, you made them unkillable in every way. In every way, you made them unkillable. So basically, it's like you don't get to have the fights that show how invincible they are. That they're basically in every other movie world would basically they'd be all dead. They'd both be dead, and so would all the others, and then be like, they're fine though. So again, they really want you to cry. They really want you to be like, this could be the last time we see Wolverine. It's like, yeah, it could be the last. And the studio's like, yeah, it could be the last time we see Wolverine. Don't Google our future movies. No, please don't Google our future movies. Yeah. So don't Google any of the stuff that we're doing. So yeah, so there's a lot of that. It goes on for a while. It feels like it goes on for a while. They keep switching on who's going to make the ultimate sacrifice. And in the end, they both do. And then it's supposed to be oh no, they died thing. And then Paradox tries to trick his boss, who's very diverse. I say that because that's how it was written on the script, I bet. You know? Prove me wrong. Prove me that it wasn't written that way. So his very diverse boss, he has to tell about this, and he tries to say they're both dead to save himself. They, of course, come out because, you know, no one dies. So, and basically the whole joke here is, it's funny that, like, he's saying they're dead and doing the whole eulogy thing, and then they both walk through the door, like, and then he's like, damn it. You know, it's like, so that's fun. The problem is that then they do this joke where, you know, like the girl gets attracted by seeing shirtless Hugh Jackman, and then they're like, hey, that's offensive. You can't be that way. But guy over there who's attracted to that, not gonna say how, just guy over there that's attracted to that, you're fine. That's all I'm gonna say. So, and they do that only just to be like, we're fans. Because there's a joke that a community like that didn't like earlier in the movie. So they're like, well, don't worry, here's your joke for you. So yeah, so then the Paradox guy gets shoved into the portal to who knows where. Who knows where he'll be shoved. I don't know. You know, is he gonna be in the sequels thing? I hope. I hope he's in another show because he was really fun. I liked him. I thought he should have been the main one running the thing. Because he's likable. And again, you can't just shove in, just random characters and just, with like the diverse boss. You can't just shove in a random character just because she's in Loki. Anyway, so, and again, I don't mind, Black Widow or any of the others. And I don't even mind the new girl that's playing Black Widow or Elaine, I'm going to call her that because that's what she is. Elaine playing a particular pick of a particular leader that's over the U.S. right now. Again, Google the picture of Elaine in the new Thunderbolts trailer and tell me you can't tell who I'm talking about. So that's the thing. So we basically have all these. So it ends with Wolverine coming back, and basically they don't let Wolverine die because they want him to be in sequels. They want him to be in reboots. They want him to be in all these different other things they have planned. And there's even a really funny joke where they say he's gonna do it till he's 80, and it's like he probably even after that, because there's this whole, because they've deep faked dead characters like Princess Leia and stuff. They're dead in real life, but they deep fake them in anyway. So death might not even be the thing that stops it. They might just keep putting them in even after death. Who knows? So yeah, so there's a lot of fun in this. Just the problem is that I feel like it should have went the buddy cop route. These two buddy cop thing. Paradox plays the chief like character in this, and they basically run around surgically getting rid of all the things that people don't like about the new Marvel. And you can take that from what it is. I don't know. But again, and another thing too is that this was such like a hit for Disney. Like this was like such a hit. It made a lot of money. So you would think that this would mean that we need to be done with the Logans and we need to go forward into the fun zone of this. The problem is that